Welcome to another Cook's Tour. Today, we're taking a trip on the historic Panama Railway, the first oceanic railway in the world. Construction of the railway began in the 1840s to solve the question of how to move people, goods, and mail from the east coast of the United States to the west coast. The overland journey across the continental United States was an arduous and dangerous journey. So a group of New York investors set about financing the construction of a railway along the most narrow point of the continent of the Americas. That piece of land was the Isthmus of Panama. Today's trip on the Panama Railway Company's trip from Panama City to Cologne costs $40 plus a 10% booking fee. This is a 3-hour trip, and during that time, we'll get to see some of the rugged jungle and swampy terrain that the railway was cut through. The modern-day journey begins at the Panama Canal Railway's passenger station. In fact, the railway connected to the docks of both sides of the isthmus, making it easier for cargo to be loaded and unloaded from awaiting ships. Leaving Panama City behind us, it doesn't take long for the train to begin traveling next to the Panama Canal. Much of the original railway's tracks were moved to accommodate the construction of the canal, as the railway's importance declined with the opening of the canal in 1914. But while the canal was being built, the railway was used to transport equipment and men to job sites along the canal, and to remove debris and the thousands of tons of excavated soil. Workers building the original rail line kept getting sick and dying from yellow fever and malaria, which at the time was thought to be caused by bad air contaminated by rotting sewage and garbage, hence the word malaria, mal air, bad air. Yellow fever and malaria is actually caused by mosquitoes passing a parasite to humans, but that wouldn't be discovered until 50 years or so later during the construction of the Panama Canal. Here, we're passing a lot of heavy machinery that's used for the maintenance of the canal, including cranes, dredges, and massive irrigation tubing. Keeping the canal clear of buildups and debris is a continual task, as heavy rains of the region move massive amounts of soil from the surrounding hills into the canal. At Miraflores, ships enter the first set of locks on the Pacific side to raise and lower the ships by 26 meters. In addition to the locks, a man-made lake called Lake Miraflores was also created during the design and the construction of the canal. The most grueling and labor-intensive portion of the rail line was cutting through the summit of the Continental Divide at the Culebra Cut. The men excavated between 20 and 40 feet of soil depth for a distance of 2,500 feet. It was a back-breaking task, but some must have felt that they were part of something grand, a project that would change the world. We're now passing over the Chagres River as it cuts through the town of Gamboa. The Chagres River was known to flood during the rainy season, which could wreak havoc on the canal. Storms are frequent and severe during Panama's rainy season, and the men working along the rail line had no shelter to keep them dry during the torrential downpours. They had to wait it out in hopes that the rains wouldn't cause too much damage. Heavy rainfalls would turn the soil that they were digging into mud, making working conditions slippery and dangerous. Rains also wreaked havoc on the railway's newly built infrastructure, such as a massive wooden bridge built across the Chagres River. The bridge washed away after the river rose by 40 feet following a heavy downpour. A replacement bridge made of iron was constructed at a higher elevation. The total length of the iron bridge was 300 feet, and construction took a year to complete. The U.S. engineers building the Panama Canal came up with the idea to create another man-made lake which could accommodate the Chagres' flood waters. That lake was Lake Gatun. A massive dam structure was built to flood the entire valley, and over 160 square miles eventually filled with water, creating the man-made Lake Gatun. The islands of Lake Gatun were the hills and mountains that once stood proud in the landscapes, but now only the tops are all that's visible. The train passes through Lake Gatun on a raised causeway, and the size of the lake is immense. Far in the distance, we can see container ships as they wait for their turn to pass through the Gatun locks. These locks raise ships from the Caribbean Sea in a series of 3 steps up to the level of Lake Gatun. Each of the 3 chambers that make up each lock raises the vessel 29 feet. The total lift from the Caribbean Sea to Lake Gatun is 87 feet. As we come into the city of Cologne, the train passes through a massive swamp with dark, sludgy water. Imagine the men who went to work each day in the brackish waters of the swamp, with the very real dangers of snakes, crocodiles, malaria, and more ready to kill them. These men watched as coworkers died around them, and as they prepared for work day after day in damp and moldy clothes and shoes, they must have known that there was a very real possibility that they may not return home to the camp at the end of the day. Despite all the obstacles, the Panama Railway was officially complete on January 28, 1855. As a matter of perspective, the transcontinental U.S. Railway was completed in 1869, and Canada's transcontinental railway was completed in the 1880s. The Panama Railway route was a total of 47 miles, with the train's maximum elevation of 258 feet above the track laid at the Atlantic port. The project was a massive engineering feat for the day. As it cut through the swamps and jungles, the railway required 170 bridges and culverts of 15 feet or more, and 134 bridges and culverts of less than 15 feet. The Panama Railway Company generated net profits of $6 million during the construction phase, mostly from those seeking quick passage to California and its gold. The total cost to build the rail line was $8 million, with an estimated 5,000 to 10,000 men who sacrificed their lives to the project. The first 12 years that the railway was fully operational were the most profitable for the company. The railway moved 750 million of precious cargo, mostly from California's goldfields, the company charging 0.25% on all precious cargo. During the same time, the railway moved 400,000 people across the isthmus, charging $25 per person per way. Many of the workers who survived working on the railway decided to stay in Panama and opened businesses including restaurants, retail shops, laundry services, etc. Those who didn't survive were often interred with a stone marker engraved with an employee number. Some speculate that every tie in the Panama Railway represents the life of some man who paid the price for its construction with his life. Thanks for watching another Cook's Tour as we took a trip on the Panama Railway. Please be sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next time as we continue the search for the perfect meal.